All right. I think everything is starting up and we are live. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, just sitting here drinking my morning coffee, looking sexy as hell as usual. And yeah, I think we'll get a good chat. We had a good coffee chat yesterday. Took people a little bit to get in, but once it got in, it was flowing nice and smooth. You know, it was flowing smooth and in a good way. And I think we'll hopefully get some of the same today, right? Did it just restart my stream on the tube? Sorry, I'll start that again. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, just sitting here drinking my morning coffee, getting sexy as hell as usual. And hoping we get as good of a coffee chat as we did yesterday. That was pretty, actually, the last 2 days, these have been, pretty good. They've got plenty of engagements once we got, 20 minutes in. Super chats, all that stuff, right? Everything was just in a good place. We're in a real good place. So, hoping we'll get a little more of that, right? Let us hope that trend continues here, and I think it will. I think that it will, but I guess we shall see. All right, there we go. First viewer in here. But yeah, like I said, I let the people in the morning dictate the flow. I just kind of chill, do my thing, go with it. Run with it. Benjamin, do dips work the upper chest as the flat bench? Um, how are we defining upper chest? I think that's a better question. What muscle or head of a muscle are you specifically referring to as upper chest? You talking about the upper portion of the pec major? Are you talking about the pec minor, that little smaller muscle that runs under? One of them is much bigger than the other, by the way. All right. So I'm going to go with, I'll just answer that for you. Probably you may not work the pec minor as much, but that may not matter as much in the grand scheme of things. I've been up really early. I've been up a little while, actually. I crashed out early. But as far as the pec major, it works the whole pec major extremely well, right? What it works less is the delts, right? You get less front delt on a dip than you do on a bench. The higher the level of inclination, the more front delt you get. I was shocked at how much smaller my arms look in the morning in these with this lighting versus the evening. Everyone in the evening is like, dude, your arms are massive. You got veins everywhere. So I'm all carved up. Morning, it's dark still. We don't look the same. Yes, what now? We're up early. Just I'm actually dealing with front delt dominance, thinking of doing decline. Is trying to target the pec minor kind of pointless? Yeah, it really is. I mean, if you really cared about the pec minor, you would be doing incline or overhead anyways. Overhead press works the pec minor really well. So does a steep incline. But keep in mind, it's a pretty small muscle. It's maybe a tenth of the size of the rest of the chest. And you're still working. So we need to be clear. I think trying to target any small muscle is relatively pointless. Trying to target, think about that. Or are you just trying to work it? Does flat work pec minor? Yes. Yeah, it does work the pec minor. But we're talking about as much. So he had asked, does the dip work the upper chest as much as the flat bench? Overhead press gave me most of my upper chest, but man, I neglected bench for a while. We'll get back on it. Well, that's why. So walk. Just let me ask you a serious question. So just because your front delts are really well developed, does that mean that you need decline? Right? Think about that. Are you trying to shrink a muscle? And I don't think guys think this through when they're picking exercises. So if you neglected flat bench and focused on overhead press, why not just add flat bench back in? I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong answer, but I think guys don't really think this stuff through. I don't think these things through. You know? Like, is it a big deal if your front delts still get worked on an exercise? What would complement dips better, incline or flat bench? I don't know, Benjamin. What are you trying to do? See what I mean, Benjamin? What complements better? I don't know. But what are we trying to do here? Build the whole chest. Well, to build the whole chest, flat bench is clearly better, right? I'm hammering it flat and it takes over a lot. How do you know it takes over? So fix your form, right? If your front delts are taking over your flat bench, then you need to learn how to bench. This is not a muscle balance issue. This is a bad form issue. I'm going to say quit bouncing the bar off your chest. Maybe it gets your scapula back, you know. Stop locking it over your face. Problem goes away. This is a technique issue. What's the number one exercise you consider to build massive shoulders? I don't know. Overhead press. Number one exercise. In all seriousness, are you talking bodybuilder shoulders? The number one exercise is pinning testosterone into them. That'll do way more than training them. Like, so if you're talking bodybuilding, competitive bodybuilding purposes, pinning test in your shoulders is worth way more than your exercise selection. I'm talking 10 times as much size, right? So if you think in terms of bodybuilding, that's your solution. Like if you're like, I want bodybuilder size shoulders, the most important thing you can do is just pin your test in them. Like that's worth more than actually training them. Like you could cut out all shoulder exercises. You could do nothing but bench pressing and rows and not do anything for your shoulders. And if you just pinned, a cc of test into each delt every single week, you get way bigger shoulders than if you did 20 sets for your delts a week. You get way more shoulder. That's how bodybuilders build their shoulders. Oh, okay. Strong shoulders, overhead press. We can make a case for like high pulls and stuff too. Okay. Right? Like C-Bum shoots ridiculous amounts of gear in his shoulders. Like it's insane. Like you can see to the point where it looks like I got nauseated the first time I saw his physique. I'm like, that's gotta hurt. He shoots so much shit in those delts. Like that has to be uncomfortable just day to day. Like that's got to actually hurt 7 days a week. Just the level of discomfort from the pip, the amount of stuff he injects on. Like when he was competing. That was my first thought when I saw it. My shoulders actually started hurting, like sympathy pain. Mustafa. How are you? I'm doing good, Mustafa. I'm over on the tubes also. Thought about doing some tricep work today. Rest day tomorrow, train my chest. Okay. I mean, that's fine. I'm going to do triceps the day after benching, even on full body. Is it true that building big shoulders is hard for a natty? Yeah, because drugs do more than yeah, we always double dip peppermint. Like quite frankly, drugs do way more for your delts than lifting ever will. You know. Yep. Like what you guys think of as big shoulders isn't even about natty. It's literally sight shooting. So when I go through and I look, say, at my Facebook feed and I look at the guys in there, I would say of all the physiques I see just through my feed, about 70% of them directly inject their shoulders. Like it's very blaringly obvious. They do their regular pinning in their delts. You can look at them and tell. That's where they shoot instead of glutes, right? So what most people think of as big shoulders today in the current physique scene is just directly pinning their steroids directly into their delts, is what you're actually seeing. So, they didn't do that in the Arnold era. Same thing, you go back to, the 50s and 60s. You go through there and look at those physiques. Steve Reeves, I mean, that's great shoulders for a natural. Right? Rise and grind, we go. The Green Pill says, I want to get some punani. Okay. I don't know who that is. Is who? If you've heard of them, they're probably not natty. I think that's a good solution. All right. All right, here's a great solution. Are they a fitness person, a bodybuilder, or a lifter whose name you know? Like you've heard of them, right? Like you see them on the internet and they have a name and a following. It's fair to say they're not natty. Like just assume otherwise. I think that's a good rule of thumb. Your life will be a lot easier. You'll be less scammed if you just make the general assumption. So I've had people say, hey, Jason, could you name the top natty physiques, as a real serious? I'm like, no, because you won't know who they are. Am I supposed to talk about dudes I know from the gym? Yeah. But if you know who they are online, they're probably not. Fix makes silly videos on it. Yeah, I'm not interested. I don't watch Tubes Fitness. I'm not even going to cover fitness. I'm going to cover current events. So all my current events, not even going to be fitness people because I just don't care. Like why? So like if people say, well, we need to discover, you could get outreach. Well, I don't care about outreach from the fitness world. Do you think I give a single shit what Greg Doucette does? I don't care. I really don't care. I could care less. So I'll discuss current events of real importance. Let's do that the same way we used to do with current events in the online fitness community. Hey, Mustafa, man, I can't write out your whole program for you, dude. So why don't you progressively overload the same exercises? I mean, if you want to do close grip bench, but so you did bench yesterday and you want to close grip today, and probably not a good idea. How many days in a row are you training? I thought you said you were doing full body or something. I don't know. Her name was Irina Zaruska. I'm sorry, Zaruska. God, I love those videos. We got to get new +5. No, I don't need to do all that. But I'm just going to sit down and live stream all that stuff, man. I think that's going to be the way to go. Do you notice improved facial aesthetics at lower body fat? You're looking good. I think so. No, he donates money. TY, he actually drops super chats sometimes, so I'm going to leave him for now. He actually pays me pretty regularly. $2, $5. We'll let him stay. Bear. He does drop. Although Green Pill, if you're going to keep spamming, though, you probably need to drop a super chat so that we don't need to put you in timeout. Yeah, he is annoying. So Green Pill, I'm going to ask you to stop spamming or at least drop a super to put up with it. So, okay. Gosh. Green Pill. I've learned more about Charlie Kirk. I don't know a huge amount. All right, Green Pill. I'm going to need to put you in timeout. I know we're just for 5 minutes. All right. We're going to put you in timeout for 5 minutes, and then if you want to come back. But I'm only not banning you because you dropped super chats. That's literally the only reason you're not banned. You got to quit spamming, dude. You're getting on people's nerves. They don't like it. All right. You got to chill, man. I mean, it is good for engagement, though, but it's going to help people out. I train bench 3 times a week. Well, Mustafa, if you close grip, you're benching 4 times a week. You do know a close grip bench is a bench press, right? It's still a chest exercise, too. But you asked about close grip. You literally asked me about close grip. Should you close grip today? I just thought about doing it. Remember we talked about you're scared of injuries? Mustafa, remember you saying you're scared of injuries? When we talk about overuse being the #1 cause, remember? You're benching 3 days a week and you have a separate tricep day. I don't think you're serious about not getting hurt. You already have 3 tricep days every week. You have a bench day. You see where we're going, right? You're going to just need to use more drugs. Like you got to throw a bunch of nandrolone and great. You're going to have to add some connective tissue drugs with the way you want to train. I'm just going to tell you how it is. Right? You're either going to have to adjust the way that you're doing stuff, or you're going to need to buy drugs to build your tendons up more and to heal them. You can't really have it both ways, not at your strength level. Unless you can afford surgeries. I mean, if you got money for the medical, but, you got to bring it down a notch. I don't know. Your programming's all over the place, dude. I can't figure out what you're doing with the program. I can't, honestly, man, I can't give you advice on your program because it's all over the place, dude. That point, you may need to go save some money up and have me coach you. I mean, if you're needing me to sort that, it's just very discombobulated. Tammy's out. Man, poor Kirk. I hope his family is safe. I mean, they're probably safe. They're probably going to get a lot of money out of all this, so donations. They might sue the school, I would imagine. All right, they left a whole rooftop up there open. We're looking at. Do you believe hamstring machines have a place? I mean, they can in theory. As far as machines go, they're some of the better machines. But here's the question too, Benjamin. Like, do we really need machines? I mean, that's the real question I would ask. Do we actually need machines at all like that? Like, what's wrong with dumbbells and barbells? Like, what's wrong with them? MK is a good connective tissue drug. Why would you use MK in 2025 with the cost of growth hormone? Why deal with the side effects of MK trying to boost your growth hormone with the price of growth hormone today? That doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. Yeah, Mustafa is all over the place, man. Like I can't really advise on. I hate reviewing people's programs, by the way. That's one of my pet peeves. Like I do not review people's programs for free. They can pay me for a consultation and I'll write a new one. I do not review programs. And that's something I've been really, really adamant about for about 12 years now. People rubbed me the wrong way with it back in 2012. Hey Pete, how you doing, man? Welcome to the coffee chat. We're streaming on multiple platforms here. So most of the chats happen on the tubes. Scott says if you watch Jason's training vlogs, you could just copy a split. That's true. Would you count hip hinges as a full set for glutes? Why wouldn't you? Benjamin. Now, that question doesn't even make sense. That's like asking me, would you count bench press as a full set for chest? It's the biggest muscle involved. Yeah, why do you even count glute sets? That's a good question, too. I mean, are we squatting and pulling and stuff? Our glutes are getting tons of work. Greenfield. Welcome back, Greenfield. He dropped a super for it. Appreciate it, man. When he got back in. It's day here. Morning, Ryan. How you doing, man? Ryan, we getting a new week. Ryan's getting stronger and leaner. I bumped your weight on a couple of those lifts, if you noticed, for this week, Ryan. Ryan, what are we weighing in at? Where's the body weight? What are we down to? He was 320 pounds, by the way. What are we at? It's one of my clients. We're in the 220s now, right? I think, didn't we hit 229 already? Where are we at? You might not still be in here. I mean, on your live stream. Yeah, it's still there. It's only 5:25 in the morning here. No, Ryan's not vlogging. I only have 2 vloggers at the moment. Ted and I are doing a break from the vlogging. He's just burned out on so much filming. I'm still coaching Ted. We just finished a strongman. We're getting ready for powerlifting meets next. But I'm only running 2 vloggers at the moment, and one of them's tattoo work again this week. So I need to get his vlog up from last week, but he won't have one this coming week. We're down to 230. Oh, 230. I think, didn't we crack the 220s the other day? I should get a fork coaching. No, most of my clients will never vlog new stuff. So even when I had the huge amount of vloggers, right? When I had the huge amount of vloggers, I had 40 clients at that time. It was ridiculous. Isn't hamstring the primary mover? You're talking multi-joint exercise. There's multiple primary. It's not the primary. When you're dealing with compound movements, there's not just a single primary mover. There's multiple. You know, Greenfield says Monday talks in California, right? How's it pulling without straps going? It's going. It's going. I don't have him doing huge amounts of pulling. Like we just do 3 sets of sumo once a week. Well, I've got it programmed. He didn't do it this week. He's like, he's still beat up from that strongman. He's like, wow. Right. So we're working it back in. But I noticed in the notes, I re-put it in. I put his sumo lifts in there, and I noticed I didn't see him in the notes from this week. So he might not be done though. So again, trying to get him back in the flow. He's kind of definitely feeling all that. What do you mean it's time to sleep? This is my work day starting. I got to train this morning. Jason, you mentioned deeper joint angles and stimulus fatigue due to lighter loads in the snatch grip deadlift. I got a lot. Do you know where I got that from? I got that from Mike Israel. I honestly, at this point, think it's just bullshit. I think the whole stimulus to fatigue thing is just simply bullshit. I still think the snatch grip deadlift's a great hypertrophy exercise. But the longer I assess this, the more I realize this whole stimulus to fatigue thing been way overblown. Way overblown. Yeah, right. Wait, actually, everyone's fluctuates a little, Ryan. It's normal. Guys, I'm going to be right back. Let me refill my coffee. Hello. Coach is back. Do we look big in a shirt? We look like we lift? You guys think? Because if you don't look big in a t-shirt and shorts, do you even lift? That's the other thing. It's like I get people on the internet who say dumb stuff like, your arms are small, but in person, when I walk around in a t-shirt, people compliment my arms. It's kind of funny how that works, right? All right. So it's just rather strange. The internet's a strange place. Would you rate leg extensions one of the best quad builders? No. Mm-mm. It makes potentially unaesthetic legs like modern bodybuilders have, and it's not best for the squat always because again the head's involved. So I don't know. How about we rate squats as squat variations as the best quad builders? And also, why are we only worried about one muscle? There's no evidence that isolating a muscle makes it grow better, by the way. In fact, if we went purely off of research only and meta-analysis, we would conclude that isolating a muscle does nothing that a compound doesn't do. Keep in mind, these are hypothetical benefits. So when we talk about, well, this movement will work this one hip, that's hypothetical. It's not actually been documented always to be true. It's a theory. It's a nice working theory, So no, I don't rate them at all. Best. Why would it be one of the best? And I think we get too tied up in this idea of best exercises. Are you working a muscle or not? Does an exercise effectively work a muscle? Are you doing sufficient volume and intensity on it to stimulate a near maximum adaptation? Hey, Green Pill, I'm not addressing that at all. That's a good way to get your channel unmonetized. Officially from YouTube and emails we got a couple years ago, by the way. We all got emails on that, all the tiered partners. They sent us an email. I'm not touching that topic with a 10-foot pole. In fact, I'm going to delete your comment. Like that is literally we will remove your monetization from your channel. We were told this. I got an email from Google telling me this as a warning. So yeah, there are a few topics. So I feel like even bringing that up is a problem. Yeah, it's all good. Best needle gauge for pinning my pet rat. I'm going to go with, yeah, to even say what those topics are. Exactly. We use common sense, guys. Yeah. So I'm not going to say the name of the topic, but we were told being dismissive of it. So if I were to read out your topic and say, I don't give a fuck, that is enough to get a strike. Per the email we got, that actually puts me at risk to be dismissive of the topic. Not just to take the wrong side, but to be dismissive. So we do not address it at all. Let's just not risk it. Now, granted, that was during the Biden administration when that email came out. I still have it. So, you know. But I'm going to say a 21 or a 22 AMC. Wow. Ryan says, I'm a perfect example of doing mostly compounds and improve across the board. There you go. I mean, Ryan, we only do so many exercises. What do we do for you? Squat, bench, deadlift, dips, chin-ups, front squats, reverse hypers. That's all we do. We don't even do reps on the big three. I just have him do singles. For his programming. Yep. Are flies needed for maximum chest development? No, why would they be? Genetic Masterpiece. Hi, Jason. I've subscribed to your channel for many years. I've always have watched everything, but was wondering what your experience of living in the UK was like, because I recall when you lived there. I mean, that's too vague of a question. Or you're asking me for 3 years of experience, like what was my family life like, what were my in-laws? I mean, you see what I mean? I don't know what you're looking for. You know, I mean, I've discussed it a little here and there, but I mean, maybe you have a specific question. And keeping in mind, that was over a decade ago. So I haven't been in the UK in over 10 years. I haven't set foot in it. So UK could be different, some of it versus when I lived there. So maybe you have a specific question about the UK. Hey, Alex, best workout program for getting back in shape after 7 months without training. I do a full body squat, bench, deadlift, some rows. All right. Basic barbell movements. Get in and rebuild. Get a base going. Love your voice, Jason. It helps me sleep. All right, cool. Genetics says, just how did you like the country? Keeping in mind, America is a big place, and I am from Texas, so Texas is already different from much of the rest of the U.S. Right? Context. In general, versus what I am used, I can't tell you about the entire United States. Like I've never been to the entire Northeast chunk of the US, for example, ever in my life. Versus, say, Texas. On average, I would say the standard of living is lower. They're technologically behind. Everything is more run down, dirty. Everything's very antiquated. The standard of living is lower. Cost of living on a lot of things is higher. It's very cold, very wet. Everything's moldy. It gets really moldy easy. Like mold grows in things if you're not careful. Something I'm not used to. Like because of the way the buildings are set up and the dampness. The plus side, the history. It's just a different culture though too. So it's like the way that life is in the towns is different. The way the shops are laid out. It's I would describe that as very different. The history, though, is a big perk, right? The history is a big perk. Like all the historical sites, the castles, the cathedrals, old churches, that's super, super cool. But I would describe, like, as far as the day-to-day life, it's a lower standard of living, right? Just across the board. And having seen, even then, it's like, so even if you look at say the medical system, even though they have universal health care, the quality is horrific. Like, even though we have to pay for it in the US and it's expensive, it is dramatically better. Like the quality of care that you get is much higher here, right? Now but you pay for it there too because their taxes are through the roof. Like, the taxes are insane. Like, everything is taxed. All right, so this is something that Americans is going to blow their mind. All right, you ready? People on minimum wage still give 10% of their income to the government. Every American in the feed's jaw just dropped. 30% of Americans who work don't pay taxes. The bottom 30% don't pay taxes in America. They don't pay an income tax. It's an FYI. Right? They don't get as many of the benefits like they get over in the UK, the socialized stuff, but they also don't pay money. They're not paying the government anything either. So, and I think the last figure I saw, only 60% of American households actually pay anything to the IRS in the United States. So the top 60% are the taxpayers. In the UK, everyone pays taxes, and they all pay for that NHS as a separate tax. But yeah, the minimum wage still pay 10%. So that puts in context the taxes. And I think a lot of Americans, that's like, would be shocking. Like, they're not used to that. Maybe Mustafa. Yeah, that's crazy. Yes, Walker, you American. So if you have a minimum wage job, you're still going to pay 10%. So if you have a part-time minimum wage job, you're still going to pay taxes. And that just blow every American's mind. They're like, what? We're at a lower technology level. Yeah. Do you think minimalist training is all we need, or more exercise? It's just a good question. Need for what, Marco? Are you trying to squeeze out every last angle of every head for a bodybuilding show, or do you just want to be the biggest, strongest guy in the room? So need for what purpose? For gains maxing. Sure. Okay. So gains maxing, do you plan on competing in bodybuilding at a really serious level? You need the last 1%. Right? Then you probably, minimalism's not going to get you that. If you're chasing that last 1% in a competitive environment, you're going to need to make sure every single plane and head gets worked. You're going to need to do a lot more. Like, you're going to do double to triple the training chasing 1%. And that's just the way it's going to be. But you're also going to be maximizing drugs also on top of that. So you need a context for that too. Because for a natural, it's not going to be a visible difference. It's not going to matter. Like, all that extra gains maxing is never going to be enough to visually see. Like in the mirror, because you're talking 1%. We can make a case for that. Are you chasing that last tiny bit? It's not even going to be visible necessarily to the untrained eye. But if you're going to use that same logic, though, if a person says they're trying to maximize their gains, I'm going to be like, are you hitting all the anabolic pathways of drugs too? right? What does that mean? Probably need all 3 classes of anabolics. Probably need growth hormone, insulin, right? You're leaving anabolic pathways unturned. You know, so if a person says they're in pursuit of maximizing muscle growth, then they have to use insulin. I guess it's not even like, you know what I mean? I have been. I haven't done any in a few days. I'm kind of wanted to just chill a little with the shoulder stuff, other than band pull aparts. Trying to make sure that inflammation goes away. I think I may work some pull ups back in today and see how they feel. Um, keep in mind, there's a lot of complexity with all that shoulder inflammation I'm trying to heal from. It's been there for years and never gone away. Because I'm not in pain, I just don't have the range of motion. So I'm having to be careful with certain things. You know. But I generally think, Marco, trying to gains max for someone who's drug free and not trying to have a pro card in natural bodybuilding is largely a waste of time. Right? You're never going to notice that last little plane in 2% on the long head of your tricep, for example. It's not going to be visible at 12% body fat. You're not going to see it. Like, no one's going to notice it, even you in the mirror. You know. So again, a lot of nuance to that answer. Those people would be impressed if you just do low body fat. I mean, let's be realistic. Like, if you want to be a freak to the average person, hit my dad bod strength standard, cut to 10% body fat. Right? If you just simply do that and you cut to 10%, most people, you're going to have the best physique they personally know. The average person, your average coworker, the average person you know, you're going to have the best physique of any person that they personally know, for the majority of them. Do you think some of that will live for the rest of their life is wasting time by not jumping on TRT at 40 versus, what does it have to do with lifting? These are unrelated. To me, that's a very strange connection that people connect TRT with lifting. I don't see the connection personally. I think it's very strange. It's a health issue, not a muscle issue. It's not like you're going to gain a bunch of muscle for TRT. Like, you know that, right? Are you're aware of this? Is everyone aware of this? You're not going to gain 10 pounds of muscle because you go on TRT. Hopefully we all understand this. You're going to gain a few ounces. You might gain a pound of muscle from your TRT if you have low tests. This is not really a lifting issue. It's a health issue. It's a quality of life issue, not necessarily directly related to lifting. Hey, Dozen, you've seen guys jump on TRT and make gains, whether they're lying about the doses. I don't know. Okay. Not biologically possible. But you know what? You've seen people make gains. Okay, but they were lifting weights already. Now, they could be lying about the doses, but how do you know TRT? Was it from their doctor, or did they self-administer their TRT? So you have that, but here's the other thing. You have people who are like, how do I put this? Would they have gained muscle without TRT? And I think people forget this. They're like, well, I got bigger when I did X or Y. Okay. You were lifting weights. You got bigger because you were lifting weights. You'll get guys who are like, well, I was doing this exercise that works triceps and I changed to this. And over the next years, my triceps got bigger. I'm like, well, you were training 3 years and now you've been training 4. Do you see where I'm going with this? Yeah, you lifted weights for another year. That's how it works. They gained a few pounds. Is it all muscle? Is it could have been better glycogen storage? There's also the slight water retention factor. But there's that, and they could have lied about what they were taking. But again, you said a few pounds. I don't know about a few. That's not been found in the research. A pound, I'll believe a pound, but you don't keep gaining. So you also have to remember when you go on a dose of gear and you gain a certain amount of muscle, it tapers off fast. You don't keep gaining. Like you don't gain that the second year or the third year, right? You stabilize at the given amount of anabolics that you're on. That's why bodybuilders keep upping the dose, because now we're back to just what we're stimulating from the training. So let's come over to these other topics. But back to my point, this TRT is not about lifting. So Alex says, I've lived in Russia my whole life. I'm 25. I lived in the U.S. From the movies. It looks like a totally different world. Hey, Alex, I'm going to say this again. Don't think of the U.S. as a place that it's like. The U.S. looks nothing like the U.S. So the U.S. is a totally different world from the U.S., from the U.S., from the U.S., from the U.S. Nothing in common, nothing alike. Right? There's multiple completely different climates. There's 7 completely different cultures. That's even some experts in cultures and understanding this, like PhDs, have mapped it out. The U.S. has 7 distinct cultures, regional cultures, that are the equivalent of being in different countries. They're the equivalent of, say, France versus Germany in terms of culture, UK versus Germany. So think of them like that in terms of those cultures. They're so vastly different, they don't relate to each other, right? But I mean, as in they might as well be completely different countries. For all practical purposes, those cultures are as different as the UK versus Germany, right? So when you say the U.S. looks like a different world, well, what part of the U.S.? We have whole regions that are snow-covered mountains, and we have deserts. There are cities in all of them. There are towns in all of them. You're talking about deep woody areas like the Pacific Northwest. You're talking about the snow-covered mountains. Are we talking about deserts? What are you talking about? Hill country? They're completely different. So always keep that in mind. And Americans all understand this. Like we're all different worlds, really. What was my last cheat meal? I took pictures of it. I mean, I got to go all the way back to Christmas walk. It was on Christmas. Junk food, some turkey, some chips. I had some chocolate covered pretzels. It's been 10 months since my last cheat meal. The U.S. in the 80s was great. It has gone. The U.S. was 50 different countries in the 80s. Are these numbers acceptable? I'm not a strength athlete. I don't know, man. What numbers? So, Mustafa says, I want massive trouble training your triceps then. But you don't need to be doing them on a 4th day separate from benching 3 days. You're just going to overtrain your triceps, Mustafa. Then your tendons are going to hurt. Right. Not as well because you think I hear little kids sing slurs every day. What are we talking about? Oh, it's all of them. They're still up. Natty didn't put his numbers up. Let's try that. Let's go genetics check. Hey, Coach, what's up, Rufio? Suppose it depends on the college. You do realize, I don't think people understand there are also conservative universities. They've got some regulars in. I think people are like oblivious to this. You do realize there are far right-wing universities in the U.S. too, right? Or do you guys completely not aware? They're just a smaller number. They're definitely there. I mean, how about Texas A&M? Extremely conservative university. Produces tons of engineers and agricultural science. And it's here. It's a 2-hour drive from me. All right. I feel like it's all show to seem tolerant, and most people, whether they admit it or not, have some degree of it. Well, I think everyone does to some extent. There's truth to that. All right. I don't know about bigotry I think is a strong word there. Because bigotry implies like a contempt towards other people. I think prejudices of different types are pretty normal for humans. We're prone to in-group, out-group bias. It's just human nature to some extent. We'll always create groups, okay? And I think people forget that. I mean, the stupidest thing I've ever heard anyone say who doesn't understand human nature, they had said, well, one day all bigotry and racism will go away when we're all the same color. Imagine being that naive. No, really, think about that. Like, well, once everyone is crossed enough and we're all the same shade, all of it will go away. I've heard people say that, and I start laughing. I'm like, wow, you don't know a lot about human nature. People will just find something else. They will replace it with something else. Right? And we always do. Look no further than history of go back in history. Look at Europe. Look at Africa. There are literal genocides of people genociding people of the same skin color as them due to a different tribal background. Okay? All through history up to the last century. In-group, out-group bias is a powerful thing. Genetic masterpiece says squat 450, deadlift 500, bench 390, natural 37 years old, lifting for 20 years, just under 6'4", 225, 230. Yeah, I think those are respectable. With your stats, I'd like to see a bigger deadlift. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that deadlift is a little bit weak for where you are. The others, I think, are pretty solid. Thoughts on Tommy? I don't know what all my thoughts are. I'm still learning more about the guy. Right? That could be its own set of topics. Oh wait, I thought that was the. Never mind. Why did I think that was the guy who shot Charlie Kirk? I just had to Google it. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't think that's him. I don't know anything about Tommy Robinson. I stopped deadlifting like 10 years ago, to be honest. Didn't want to blow my waist out. Deadlifting's not going to do that. I hope you don't do any weighted ab work then. That's going to make your waist bigger than a deadlift will. Hey, genetic, you don't believe me? Go look how many guys who deadlift 800 plus pounds who have small waists. So does Kaylor Woolham have a big waistline when he was deadlifting 940? I don't think so. Jason, favorite? I don't have a favorite martial art. How about Glock Fu? It's my favorite martial art, right? I don't have a favorite martial art. I have a favorite dinosaur, though. It's Triceratops. I think it's a sad state of affairs that once you're an adult, no one cares what your favorite dinosaur is. Yeah. Got to wonder about that. No, that's a valid question to ask. Why does no one care what your favorite dinosaur is anymore? Mine is the chicken. That's my favorite too. I forget. Can I change my answer? Can it be the chicken? Chicken's my favorite dinosaur. I eat chicken every day. Right? I see what you did, Peppermint. Crocodile. Also, just when I found out I can do a cartwheel. All right, cool, man. Crocodile. All right. Maybe a crocodile. I don't like alligator. It doesn't taste good. Pretty nasty. I tried alligator one time, never again. Oh, man. No. I need to do a cartwheel. Awesome. Tommy's a popular fruit. Yeah. I feel like too many of the British people ask me too much stuff about British culture and current politics. It's like, I don't follow it, guys. I'm just going to be honest. I have alligator skin boots and belts, alligator or crocodile. I have lizard and snake. I don't have any crocodile. I don't like the boots. Like I've seen alligator skin boots and I don't care for them. I like snake skin a lot. You guys have seen me in my pythons before. Yeah, I like snake skin. I like exotic boots in general, but I'm just not a big fan. So yeah, Rufio. I mean, my current events are going to be geared more towards America because most of my audience is American. I know some of the regulars in the streams are British, but by and large, my audience is across all my platforms is over 80% American. And it's also my preferred clients. No offense intended, but I lose money to some extent coaching people abroad. Transfer fees for money. I pay higher taxes on the coaching fees, you know. So, yeah. So it is largely my target, you know, as a businessman. I'm almost at a point where most of my clients in Europe just pay packages with bank transfers. Now they don't even do month to month. It's just easier for everybody. All my long timers buy 3 and 6 month packages and we just bank transfer it to avoid dealing with PayPal and other stuff. All right. Yep. And I don't want to do that with new clients. I don't want to give bank info to someone I don't have it established a rapport with yet. So that's why I'm hitting these other topics, because they're also going to be bigger topics. Let's be honest. If we're going to hit big topics, they need to be big topics. It's going to draw more people in. Plus, I don't know enough about what happens over in Europe anymore. Even the UK, I haven't been in the UK in over 10 years. I'm completely out of the loop to their problems and issues, because they're different now than they were then. The world's changed everywhere in 10 years. You know, I got a very brief glimpse into the UK in a 3-year span over a decade ago. Right. Who's your personal favorite Mr. Olympia? Arnold. Yeah, you should have lived in the UK for the last 3 decades at least to really understand. Yeah, yeah. Keep in mind, I had a small glimpse. It's not like I traveled all over the country a lot. I mean, just for powerlifting meets, you know, it was mostly for powerlifting and fitness related stuff. Any of the travels I did, other than a couple of exceptions, you know. So, you know, it's not like I got this great span. I've never been to London. I spent 3 years in the UK and I've not been in London. I've never been to London. I've been to Cardiff, right? I've been to Birmingham. I've been to like Exeter, whatever that one place down on the southeast coast is, because we had a powerlifting meet there. I went down for that. You know, so yeah, I've never even been to London. Yep. It was with family. My ex's family went down to Exeter for a trip. Opinion on Mike Mentzer. Oh God. Can you guys just type it all out for him? I don't feel like rehashing this. This gets brought up every week. So are you asking my opinion of Mike Mentzer, the bodybuilder, or Mike Mentzer, the crazy meth addict who quit lifting? These are two completely unrelated topics. These are not the same person. Keep in mind, competitive bodybuilder Mike, or are you talking about the meth addict who didn't lift weights and wrote a bunch of crazy shit that nobody ever got big doing? These are two separate questions. Which one are we asking about? Because there was this guy who was a very successful bodybuilder with his own training philosophy, who took second in the Olympia, who, due to his own mental illness, was a smart guy, but due to his own mental illness, he quit lifting and started self-medicating with methamphetamine. And he gave a bunch of crazy ass lectures and wrote crazy ass books that got published that nobody got big using, who never successfully trained a top level bodybuilder. using any of those methods. But was himself a very good training philosophy, very successful bodybuilder in his prime. And that most of his later theories that the meth addict Mike wrote have been largely debunked in the lab. But followers of his like to claim that Dorian Yates used his training, or that Mike trained him, and Dorian has denied it. No, Dorian did not use Mike. Mike never trained Dorian. And no, Dorian's training did not look like the stuff Mike wrote about. No, he had mental illness that caused him to spiral. You do know Dorian said later that he met Mike one time, and because he felt really bad for Mike, he allowed him to use his name. But he said he never actually trained him, and he didn't really follow his philosophies per se. Like, you do know that, right? Why do you think Dorian Yates used low volume? Genetic. Why do you think Dorian Yates used low volume? That's a really weird take. Did you ever go look at any of Dorian Yates' workouts? Does that strike you as low volume? No. Dorian's volume's not even low compared to the field today. Wow, you really think that's how Dorian trained? Okay, you clearly have not researched or looked at his workouts. So let me describe Dorian Yates warm-up sets so that you have a context. Okay, you ready? Those warm-ups would kill most people. You're not strong enough to do Dorian Yates' warm-ups. With the numbers you put up, you would never reach one of his warm-up sets. So you need a context for that. Are we clear on that? You personally can't do a single rep of his 8-rep warm-up sets. You're not strong enough. They're exceeding your maxes. Okay, so here's how Dorian Yates rows work. So for Dorian, because his 9 to 10 rep max is 405 on a row, warm-ups are to do 2 sets of 8 with 405. Okay, that's 2 warm-ups. Those are not counted towards the work sets. Because he can do 9 reps before he has to cheat, it's a 9-rep max. The 2 8-rep sets are warm-ups. The work sets, he does extended sets on them. It's like rest pause. So you do like 9 reps to failure, and then you rest 3 or 4 seconds and do another rep, and then rest 3 or 4 seconds and do another rep. Okay. When you start tallying it up, an average Dorian Yates workout was 15 to 16 hard sets per muscle group. Well, no, we didn't even get to the other pyramid. Those are still counted as warm-ups. Any set that doesn't reach failure was a warm-up. So if it's your 9 to 10 rep max and you do multiple sets of 8, it's a warm-up. You understand that? So for you, because your max bench is 390, I'm going to assume you can probably do 315 for 8 or 9 reps. So if you only do 8 reps with 315, it's a warm-up. Now, you and I both know you're going to get bigger and stronger big time from that. That is a hard work set. So do you understand Dorian's philosophy here? Dorian did 15 to 16 sets per muscle group. He trained 4 days a week for the Olympia. Right? There's your context. So does that look anything like what Mentzer was writing about? Right. Yeah. So you get the idea. Like he's doing the same volume. It's just that he did extended sets. Because during that era, that was fairly normal. That was fairly normal volume, even in the magazines. So I don't understand why Mentzer is still a topic at all in 2025. A lot of things that he wrote have been debunked. He didn't produce any champions in bodybuilding. I don't know why he's still discussed. A low volume, five sets, 6 sets a week or less would be low volume. But people make great gains on that, don't they? Do plenty of people make good gains on 5 or 6 sets? But that's still not what Mentzer taught. Mentzer was all about extended sets with excessively low volume and frequency. Right? Mentzer believed in like 20-minute work. So what meth head Mentzer was promoting was literally being in the gym for 20 minutes 3 times a week and telling you that you could get as big as possible. You should be in there for 20 minutes and not come back for 2 or 3 days. That's Mike Mentzer. When the stuff he wrote about later when he went crazy and got all his material published. No, he was crazy. He was a crazy drug addict who, in his own writings, he based his training off of the works of Ayn Rand. So, Ayn Rand, who wrote Atlas Shrugged and all that, philosopher. So he admitted that his entire training philosophy was based upon the philosophical works of Ayn Rand, was his starting point. All right, let's get over. Oh, I had a question on Facebook I missed. Jason, you ever dealt with sciatica? I'm writhing in pain. No, I don't personally have experience with sciatica, David. I have some clients occasionally. I have a client who has some. He's worked with a physical therapist on it. We've just backed down and doing lighter squats and deadlifts. He's a fairly new client, though, in his 40s, who's had it in the past. This is not my forte, unfortunately, David. All right. Hey, genetic, by the way, dude, the Mentzer topic comes up at least once a week. Over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And I say the same stuff every time. I legitimately don't understand why he's a topic. Like I really and truly, as someone who knows a lot about Mentzer, and I came up in an era when he was still being popularized a bit, like I'm very familiar with his work. I don't understand why he's a topic at all in 2025. And I don't understand how his fans don't know his history. Like he has all these massive little groups of followers who are completely oblivious to the meth addiction and the self-administered methamphetamine or any of this. Like they're completely clueless. And some of them seem to think that what he promoted later looked like his training. Remember, his workouts were published before. Like his workouts were written about and published before he started doing all this stuff later. So there was documentation of what his training looked like when he was competing in the Olympia. And that is not how he trained. So I just don't understand why all these fans of his are oblivious to it, and they still talk about him like he's relevant. He's not. Mark said, "Man, I have sciatica, low bar squat, and snatch grip or sumo, and the things that don't flare up. Red starting strength I've learned about." Wow, okay. I think people that think intensity is a key factor in gaining size, and that kind of counterculture to the science-based 50 sets. But why do we need the extreme? Okay, man, this is, again, you've been training a long time, though. You've watched this back and forth. It's been happening since the 70s, right? This argument in the bodybuilding world has gone back and forth. But is it really the science-based 50 sets a week, or is it one circle? It's one specific circle. It's the Brad Schoenfeld circle. And there's a lot of politics involved in that. There's a whole lot of experts and scientists who say that what he's pushing is complete bullshit to sell books. And then he has a whole set of people a lot of influencers who then he has influence over. Also, because he has control of a lot of grants in certain circles, he controls segments of that industry. Like, you have to kind of kiss his ring. But there's a whole other groups of exercise science researchers who think he's completely full of shit. And they're like, his research is garbage. The people, it's all junk. It's junk science. And they're more than happy to debunk it in detail all the time. But because that's getting play, that's what people think, that's some scientific consensus. It's not. There are plenty of exercise scientists who are like, dude, you can get pretty much close to maximum muscle growth off like 10 sets a week. There are PhDs in the field who say this, if you were not aware. So, guys, I think we're going to wind the coffee chat down. No, his training didn't look like anything that he trained later. His training is in the Olympia just looked like normal heavy power building. I wouldn't call it the heavy duty. No, he just did power building. That's how I would describe it. Like what most of us think of as power building, almost quasi power lifting. It's pretty much how he trained, right? And he still trained 3 days a week. He still did about 10 sets or so per muscle per week. Because all those workouts were published. We all had access to it when I was starting out. There were books on it. Guys, I'm going to wind this down. Let me end the Facebook. I got to train this morning. We're going to do some heavy squatting and benching today. All right, guys. Love you guys, and I'm out.